Hey, Aaron, it's Rich at the auto auction.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Hey, I got your car down here that you sent to me. I just got done writing a CR on it. It's a 2.5.
Well, what do we write it at?
3.5?
All right, well, let's go through it. I can meet you at the gate.
I'm Rich Levine, and this is Meet Me at the Gate, where we're not just talking theory, we're tackling real-world problems head-on, driving solutions that supercharge productivity and team dynamics. Every episode is a journey towards improvement, empowering you, the manager, to lead with innovation and confidence. Join us to transform everyday roadblocks into highways for success. Why are CRs at auctions either absolutely incredible, the best thing since canned beer, or the absolute worst thing since who knows what's bad?
I guess before we get too far down the road, I'm trying to figure out, were CRs today, are they for digital primarily or physical or both?
I think they're honestly for both.
Let's go back in time though, and we talked about this in the last podcast. Who wanted the CR? Remember, Ty, that was your big question. Who wanted the CR? Why are we writing the CR?
I do remember that.
It was the
And
seller.
also,
Right? The seller wanted to write it.
yeah.
Why did the seller want to write it? It was a financial institution because they had a lot of cars. They got trying to keep track of them. They're trying to find out what they're worth, right?
Right. Back to their customers if need.
And so let's stick in this old time machine. If you were a dealer and you wanted to buy a car and you would walk in, because I had this happen a lot, you'd walk into the auction and I'd be there as a rep, or they'd call me up as a rep. Hey, Rich, can I see that CR? No. Nope. Can't have it. They'd ask the auction. Nope. Can't have it. Why not? Because that's the bank's CR, that's the lender's CR, that's our CR, it's not your CR. Well, I want to know what the car's like. Go walk it. Go look at it. Go kick the tires. Now let's fast forward where we're at now. Aaron just said it. Digital, right? We're selling cars online. It's for the buyer. Wait a second. So now what has happened to that CR? We're still writing the CR. The principle of CR is still from the same thing. It's for the seller. It's the seller's responsibility to announce that car. But we want to sell more cars. We're getting greedy. We're getting lazy. Now we look at the CR and it's still the same thing. Anybody can write it. But Ty, if you look at that car, Aaron, you look at that car, I look at that car, we're going to come up with 3 different grades. But yet we want to make that CR be gospel. That's the issue. So Aaron, you send a car down to me in Texas, or Ty buys a car. Ty buys a car for you, and you've written the car up in Michigan, and you write it as, let's just say it's a 4.0. Ty buys it, he's going to bring it down to Houston for whatever reason, he's got it sold, and he drops it off, it ends up at the auction, and now I write a CR on it. And I write it as a 2.5. How could it possibly be that far off? Or let's reverse it. I got a car in Houston that I write as a 2.5. I send it up to you and you write it as a 4.0. How can that same car be so different? Or when it left Houston, the tie downs were perfect, but Ty put it on the truck and drove it to you. Now he ripped the rails. But that'd be too obvious. But what I was looking at is I grew up in the upper Midwest in the North. I've driven cars, bought cars in the Midwest. Now I've lived on the West Coast and I've moved to the South. I can tell you that a clean car in Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin is not a clean car in Texas. You guys have salt. You guys have winter. We don't have that. I've seen cars come from the Midwest down to the South and we go write a CR. And the car has no visible red rust on it. But it's sitting in front of our CR rider, and there's this ugly bubble coming along the rocker panel. Paint's still all there, and it's this weird blemish that's about 3 to 4 inches in diameter. What's the problem? It's probably because it's rusting from the inside out. We see that in the South, we're going to tear that car apart. You see it in the North? He's a couple years old, that's the way it is. She's a good old ride. We kick it down the road, right?
Yes.
And have you ever seen a car come over from Hawaii?
I have not. That's a totally different animal with the salt water.
We call them pineapple cars because there's 2 things going on in Hawaii that we would see when we would inspect them out in California. Saltwater air, volcano ash. And it sits on the paint and pits the crap out of it. So now has anything ever been done with that car? So now you got that same car. How are you going to write that car? So I think this is where we start getting into where this different subjectivity is. How long has the writer been, or the CR writer? How long has he been working? How long has he been trained? Where did he come from? What's his personality style? What is his motives? How is the auction doing? Is the auction making money? Is the auction struggling? Are we having too many arbitrations? There's all these different things that go into whether or not a CR gets written hard or soft. But I think it comes down to relationships. If I know you, Aaron, and I know how you write cars and I'm buying from you, and you write it as a 3.5, I'm going to say, you know what? I know how Aaron writes cars. He's very thorough. That's a great car. That gets to my lot. I'm good. Ty, on the other hand, I've seen Ty write some cars before, and he wrote a 3.5. Guarantee you he missed half the damage. This is probably really a 2.5 when it gets there. But then it rolls.
Worse than that, I wrote the miles down wrong too.
Oh, don't go there. No. That's the check-in guy. That's the check-in guy. We're not going to go to the check-in guy on the miles. You're just supposed to verify them, all right? So now we got miles and we got a car on. But let's just stick with the CR and how different people write them. Because I think it comes down to relationships, and it comes down to maybe being lazy and being dependable and taking things for granted. If you're a dealer and you're buying a car online that says 3.5, gets to your lot and you don't agree, what are you going to do?
Call arbitration and be mad and use lots of bad words.
Bingo.
Right. That's and that's the thing, right? Like with CRs, though, it's a fine line, right? Because like with that car, we want to help the seller sell the car, so we want to be upfront with as much as we possibly can as a CR writer, but also be as thorough as possible and not miss anything. We don't want to kill the grade of the car so the seller could still sell the car, if that makes sense, right? We're like, we could sit there and pick a car apart and call every chip and scratch and dent and what have you on the car, but also like you got to look at it as like normal wear and tear. Here's a 2014 Silverado. Yeah, it's been used as a truck. Do you call all that stuff, or do you just kind of let it roll and hopefully that when it gets to the dealer, it's like, oh yeah, they missed that door ding. I'm gonna, that's no big deal. I can get that out with PDR. It's like I tell my guys, like, don't sweat the small stuff. Call the 5-inch dent. Miss a PDR dent here or a chip or a scratch on the door. It's not a big thing. We're not going to get arbitrated for that. And if we do, then there's other issues behind it. They're just using the CR as a fall. When I wrote cars, that's how I did it. Like if I looked at it as I was looking at buying this car, and if I missed a PDR dent or I missed a small scratch or I missed a chip in the windshield, it's not a big deal. The buyer's not going to squawk over that, as opposed to maybe the 5-inch dent on the box side that I missed. Something where he's going to have to really put a lot of money into to get it front line ready. You're right, Rich. Like it kind of comes down to like how the CR writer is trained, how the auction's doing, who's our primary customers. Is it online customers that we're selling to, or are we, also kind of doing it for the inlane customer as well? CRs before, right, were just something that we had to do. It was kind of a thorn in the side of auctions down in the, when they first started. They just throw anybody and everybody at them to do CRs and no training, no nothing. And here we are now, primary. It's the primary thing. Everybody wants them. All the technology is for us to write them and be smarter about it, right?
I was replaying this in my head this morning while I was out walking the dog, thinking about how we're going to talk about this. But number one, I don't want to go down this negative path of saying all CRs are bad, because majority of them are actually really good, and very few of them actually cause any arbitrations or cause any issues or money. It's only that we only talk about it because it's a handful of bad ones or a handful of ones that people disagree with. I don't even know if they're bad. It's just the ones that people don't agree with or find them as accurate are the problems. But so let's use that example. And I remember this vividly going through this, and it was probably right around 2002, 2001, 2002, right in there, maybe 3 at the latest. And Online Ringman came out, and we were going to start selling cars online for, at the time, it was the GM factory sale. At that point in time, up until that date, when we made that decision to start doing that, CRs were never given to the dealer. They were never shown. But it became a solution to a problem. And the problem we were trying to solve at that time is we want people to buy cars online. We've got to make sure they know the condition of them beyond a picture or just an image or a live image of the car. The brainiacs in the room said, hey, let's just post the CR. Oh, that's a great idea. But let's fast forward to where we're at. That was never, like you just hit it. That's never why the CR was intended to be written. The CR was intended to give the seller an idea of their car, because in a lot of cases, those auto lenders either didn't have time to come, didn't come to the cars. And I mentioned in that last podcast we're doing, I got mine on a fax machine, came over and I have to go through them and we'd look at them, how much damage was on there. And then I'd get ready to go walk them. I'd put them in a binder. At some point in time, somebody said, hey, let's grade that car. Well, we know that a factory car back in the day was probably a 4 to a 5. And then we came up with, Aaron, you talked about it, your favorite subject, auto grade. And then with auto grade, what happens? Now we're starting to take everything that we're putting down, and there's an algorithm that's calculating out that number. And that's where it's putting us, what I would say is putting us in a trick bag. Now we got a problem. A dealer calls up and says, hey, I got this car on my lot. You said it's a 3.5. I think it's a 2.5. How are you going to help me? What are you going to do? My first answer would be, well, you're the used car salesman. You're selling cars, right? What do you mean you can't sell that car? What's the problem? Is that what we're trying to overcome? Is the CR written bad, or is the car written to the point that you can't sell it?
Right. Exactly. And I'm with that as well, right? Like the backlier of that too sometimes is like, the car might be written right, but the buyer paid too much for the car, or he can't sell it, right? So now he's leaning on the CR as an excuse to get out of something or get some money back to help him recoup his loss or what have you. And it kind of becomes a scapegoat, right? With, back in the day, like when we first started writing CRs too, right? It was all manual grade. What we as the CR writer thinks this car is. Is it a 2.0 or is it a 3.0? My experience, I found that CR writers that had the ability to manually grade a CR graded everything as a 3.0. Was afraid to go higher or lower. 3.0 was kind of, then we come into the age of auto grade. And nobody wants to write it. No one feels that there's a 5.0 car out there. So they got to always put something on the car, either it be a hood chip or a window chip to make that grade not a 5.0, which I'm the other way. Like if this car is clean, it's 5.0. Let's grade it as it is and let the buyer decide. But auto grade has its faults too, right? It's the algorithm of how it calculates still baffles me, and how they kind of come up with some of the stuff that, where tires really hit the grade, and this and that hits the grade harder than this. And it's crazy.
Well, and sometimes I think maybe we try to use technology as a crutch, and technology, I've said it earlier, makes us lazy. We're trying to figure out, let's get AI in here because then AI will make it so it's bulletproof. Well, I don't think really that's the answer. I'm going to go back to saying I think technology is making us lazy. The internet, buying cars on the internet, that's lazy. Why is it lazy? Well, now I don't have to leave my office. I don't have to leave my house. I don't have to leave wherever I'm at. I don't have to go walk a car. Now I can go buy more cars. It's this whole velocity thing. How can we buy more cars? How can we do more with less? Everybody's trying to get down to the 3-second or 2-second, 1-second pit stop. And when you're buying cars, this really doesn't work. So maybe is a solution, and I don't think this would ever happen, but a solution is, okay, here's your condition report. We're just going to list all the damage on here. I'm not going to tell you how much of it or whatever it is. Here's a bunch of pictures. Here's the list of all the damage. You figure out how much it is for you to recon it, and you figure out as the buyer whether or not you want to buy that car. Is that car a 3 to you? Is it a 5 to you? Is it a 1 to you? And then go from there. Because what happened? Let's go all the way back to when auctions first started. Dealers would go out and they'd walk the cars. They would make the decision on whether or not they wanted to buy the car. There was no green light. Why'd we ever invent the green light? To get more money. Why do we invent certification? To get more money.
This is interesting because one of the things I hear and see a lot, I'd go to auctions pretty much all week long, the same ones, but just different locations. And I talk to dealers a lot, and I'm always like, where do you buy your inventory? Well, at the auction, dummy. Okay, well, do you like the auction? No. Why? Fees. So anyway, this is a cool story. I run into a guy. He's at an auction. He's repping his trade-ins. A franchise, they probably got about 5 rooftops that I know of. So anyway, he's just there repping them, hadn't seen him forever. Like, so what's going on? Well, I'm acquisition manager, inventory manager now. Okay, where are you buying cars at? Online or go to the auction? I don't see it at all these auctions. No, I'm on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace all day long, and all I do is I drive around all day long and I go talk to people and I go try to buy their cars. Are you following me so far?
Yep.
Have you guys heard about this?
Yeah. What are they doing?
So this guy's getting paid money to get on Facebook Marketplace and go try to buy cars from the public all day long, all right? As we're talking here, I'm like, oh, well, that's genius because everybody hates the auction anyway, and they pay too much in auction fees, and that's all they do is cry. While they're at the auction, that's all they're doing is crying about how much they can't stand the auction, right? So then you turn around, you're like, where are you buying your cars? Well, we buy them in the lane, and I'm buying them on Marketplace. Now, this is cool. So I asked the guy, I'm like, so do you get a condition report before you go look at the car?
I was going to ask you that. Are they sending you pictures? Are they telling you what's going on? Oh, do they have the title? Is the title clean? Is the title ready? Do they have a lien on it? Are you going to have to write a check and send it off to lien? How much paperwork you have to do? I think you mentioned a sore spot, and we're getting off topic of CRs, but I love it. It's the fees at auctions. But what do auctions do? What are we experts at? And then I'm going to challenge the dealers that are listening that don't like the fees. Okay, so Mr. Dealer, you no longer can sell a car with a pack fee or a dock fee or any other fee. You can't pack it or nothing. You just have to sell it straight up. No more fees. Because me as a retail buyer is sick and tired of paying all your extra fees. You know, I want to pay your finance fee. I don't want to pay your service fee. Quit trying to sell me your warranty because there's another fee. What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me as a retail consumer? You're feeing me to death. But yet you want to turn around and bitch at the auction about feeing to death. Okay, now let's break it down. You as a dealer, show me a business model, Mr. Dealer, that you're willing to sell cars on where you're not going to make any money. I'm waiting. Okay, I'm an auction guy. I don't own any of the cars. I'm selling cars. I'm providing a service. There's a fee for that. It's a business model. I'm in this to make money just like anybody else. I got rent to pay. I got property tax to pay. I got employees that want to eat. I got to pay them. So when you come to the auction, we're providing a lot of services that people may take for granted. One of them is really good with titles. Also, we've got a great, what have we done? We've gone out and sent people out to the marketplace, whether you want to call it Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and we've gathered all these cars and we've brought them to you. So you can come one place. Now get your ass out of bed, come walk the cars just like you were going, instead of driving around eating a donut and getting another cup of coffee trying to find the next retail consumer to go buy a car from. You can knock it out. Talk about being lazy. Oh, I don't going to have to walk 400, 500 cars in the morning. Okay, but you want to drive around all day, waste gas, eat donuts, get fat, get lazy to look for the one or two cars you might be able to get off a marketplace. Pick your battles. Now, that doesn't really love the dealer, does it? I just went off the rails. But I'm going to let you guys take it over because that's just me playing devil's advocate, right? We're trying to make money. That's what auctions are.
Wow.
Tell us how you really feel, Rich.
And there goes the podcast ratings. It's a good thing that our audience is auctions and not dealers. But you still got to love the dealer.
If you hit the gate, I'm going to kick your ass.
Hey, this might be one of the highest rated shows ever. We drew the line in the sand.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, I just started with the CR report, and where I was going was somebody's got to look at something before somebody says I want that. I mean, that's the basic fundamental part of this conversation. So if you're a dealer guy and that's what you want to do, great. But you're looking at the same thing we're talking about. Somebody has to look at this car and somebody has to decide what is this condition of it. Am I right or wrong?
Somebody has to do that.
You're right.
Yeah.
And, when they're looking at it, I mean, they're always looking at that grade of the car, right? Always. And they always there's guys out there, I'm not going to look anything under a 3.0. You know what? That 2.8 car is just as good as that 3.0 car. They pigeonhole themselves into this area because that auto grade is so important to these guys all the time that they just rely on that number. They don't care. They won't even look at the photos. They won't even look at the damage lines. They just look at that grade. If it's a 3.0, I'm going to bid on it and buy it.
It was sold to them as their solution, as the end all be all. That is absolute. That if it's 2.8, it's really a 2.8. If it's 3.0, it's really 3.0. And if it gets there to your lot and you don't think it's that, then obviously the auction screwed up. The auction's wrong because we did not write it the right way. We didn't write it to meet your expectations because somebody somewhere sold them. Let's go all the way back to 2002 online Ringman. And we're running cars through the lane. Hey, here's a condition report. This accurate representation of what the car is. And it gets back, and now we're giving somebody something to dispute over. We're actually opening ourselves up as auctions to more problems than we're solving. Now, again, when I'm a little rant about the fees and about this other stuff, these are big deals because when they pop up, it's a big deal, but it doesn't happen as much. It's not like it's every car. I want to make sure people understand that. This is I would say maybe 2%, 3% of the cars where people want to come and complain all the time about a CR.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, knock on wood, been very, very few and far between at our location. So it's not every time we write a CR that someone's, calling and barking about it. It's just the ones that we really totally missed the boat on that we've gotten hit with. it's more or less, honestly, my physical guys that are selling cars through the lanes that are getting CRs at our location that throwing a bigger fit about their CRs than the people that are looking at them online. We have the import side of it. Where we get it is, well, in Canada, they wrote this car as a 3.5. Gets to your location, you write it as a 2.7. Like, why? What are we missing? Or what are we calling that they missed? I have my ideas of like how cars are being written, and they know who's going to buy. Like, it's just not that they know it, but like exporters, they have a 30-day window over here. Everything's out of arbitration. They don't care. Let's write the car however it is. They're going to buy it. It's going to get over there. They can't come back on it. They have a 30-day window. The car has to set in the States before it can be sold. So they're way out of arbitration. And now it gets to us. We write it, and the guy's like, I paid 3.5 money for that. Now you're writing it as a 2.7. I'm only going to get 2.7 money for it through the lanes. That's the battle that we're seeing a lot. I mean, every day, every week.
I got a question for you, Aaron. So I'm going to try to interpret what I thought you just heard. There's an auction in Canada that did a CR on a car 3.5. How did that car get to you? You're another auction. So how did the car come from Canada did somebody buy that car? Did another dealer? Did the commercial account decide we don't want it at this auction, send it down here? How did that car get there?
With a buyer. We have, the exporter. He buys them all from Canada and then exports them into the States.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's a wholesaler, basically. He's buying them out of Canada because he's figured out how to do the title work, or he knows somebody that can do the title work. So he's buying them in Canada for a lot less money. It's an F-150 with 100,000 miles on it.
Kilometers.
Huh?
Kilometers,
sorry.
Came out of Canada.
They figured out how to do the mileage and the title, so they're wholesale. They got to deal with you. They got their own lane. They're running 25 to 100 cars a week through there. They bought it. So when you get it and you do the CR, yours is 2.7. They come running in with their hair on fire. Hey, whoa, what? Like, okay, just making sure I'm on the right page.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, right? We find structural that wasn't called on the CR. Go back to Rich's, story of Midwest car to a Texas car. Frame's a little different, and it's the same thing. Even you think Midwest cars are bad. Wait till you see Canadian car.
A little different there, eh? Hey, hoser, take off, eh?
Right. I'll put you.
Go to the Great White North.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a different animal.
But so on those CRs, and here's the thing too, Aaron, I'm pretty sure you could do it. You have the same car right in front of you, and you take 2 CR writers or 3 CR writers and say, hey, write that CR. And they all write the CR. They're all seeing the same car. They could even write down the same dents, the same scratches, and get everything, every piece. Hey, did you see this? Did you see that? Yep, got it on here. And then you go back and you hit upload, and then you hit print, and you come out and you look at it, and one's a 3.2, one's a 3.4, and one's a 3.6. Same damn car, 3 different writers.
I've done
the algorithm's got you. So I mean, here's what I'm going to say about that. We don't control the algorithm. That's the evil empire at a different organization. And yes, it's just like Facebook, it's just like Instagram, it's just like Twitter, it's just like LinkedIn. They control the algorithm. It's never going to be the same twice. Just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Looking at like solutions, right? And knowing just enough of the conversation. So transport guy here, and I just know what I know based on transportation. Why am I picking this car up at the dealer's lot and taking it back to the auction? Well, most guys don't ask and don't care. They just want to get paid. I want to know why. Well, it's because I bought it as a 3.8 and it's a 2.1. I'm mad about it. So get this car out of here and hurry up, Ty. Okay. So you get back to the auction, talk to the arbitration guy. I brought you your car. Tell visibly the arbitration guy's at the end of his rope. So as I'm hearing this, I also understand, because I've had the opportunity, been very blessed to go to these car conferences. The car conference, IARA rebranded to ARA, and I've been to a couple in AAAs. And there's one guy that stands out that keeps coming back to and I can't remember his last name, but it's Matt. He was I think the NAAA standard guy. What was his last name?
Matt Harris.
Harris,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So I think, because as I'm listening to you guys go back and forth and knowing a little bit about your history, I think, hasn't there been a pretty significant move towards standardization in this? Because I keep hearing Aaron say, you know, these are really like 2% or 3% of the problems that we have. So has there been a progressive shift towards standardization that makes that percent of problems go way down?
I don't think so. I mean, there's a standard committee and they try to get everything to fit into a box, but I still don't think you can fit it all into a box. What I believe it's all based on is relationships. It's people relationships between me running an auction or Aaron running an auction, and he's got his customers, I got my customers. We're going to have a core group of people that we built up a relationship with. And if they call and say, hey, I got a car that's bad, it's like, okay, let's figure this out. Now it's relationship based versus going to the objective based where, you know, the CR's wrong, the CR's, you know, this is that, and there's no relationship there. And I think that's where a lot of those issues come out to, where everybody's trying to, we'll go back to it, to quantify everything. It's got to fit into, it's got to be specific. I think we can standardize all day long. And like you said, it's going to hit 98% of them. It's still never going to fix the couple where, what is the real underlying motive of why the person wants to complain about the car? Did they just make a bad purchase? Did they pay too much? Do they want to, are they blaming us? Hey, the CR, you said the CR was a 3.5. I paid 3.5 money for that. There's no book out there that says what 3.5 money is. You can try to go onto MMR, but we had Paul on from Black Book a little while ago. We already know Black Book's got 98% of the market value, where MMR's only got 51%. Is it really that accurate? Probably not. Let's go back. We had Will Morris on the show. It's a 150,000 mile Nissan Rogue that shutters in the tranny at 55 miles an hour, smells like a trout, and has yellow dog hair in the back. It's a wholesale car. What the hell did you think you're buying? That's what we're doing. We're selling cars to wholesale, right? You're a professional buyer. You're a professional seller. You buy cars from us to go sell them at the retail or go sell them somewhere else to make money. And when people make mistakes is when people start getting frustrated, emotions come in, and they're looking for a scapegoat. Oftentimes, the CR becomes a scapegoat. Let me pull out, and they do this. I guarantee you they do this. Let's go get the CR. Let's go find something on there they missed. Let's go. Is it the grade? Is it the rocker panel? Is it the C-pillar? Is it the Bondo? You know what? Here's one. Aaron's going to love this one. This one's flood. You completely missed it. It's flood. I saw water in the trunk. This one's been flooded.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a flood.
It's never been flooded. You left the trunk open when it rained one day. My bad.
Or we just didn't dry it out when we detailed it. Sorry.
No, we would never do that. We would never have, and a transporter would never bring us a car where he accidentally hit the trunk release button and it came up and it sat in check-in overnight before it got checked in and it rained that night. That would never happen.
No.
Never.
Left the window down on the truck as it's driving, cross country. So
yeah.
Oh man, I'll tell you, my favorite is the transport guys. Why I left the window down the whole trip and it poured the whole trip. Why do you leave the window down? Well, because you can't get in there. Any other way where you park this car, the only way out or in is to somehow, and you got to be pretty flexible and somewhat skinny to pull this off, but you got to literally crawl out of the vehicle. So I just left it down. Sorry.
And now
that's why.
And now it's flood.
Yeah, now it's flood. I hate to keep going back to our Canadian friends, but we get that a lot. This car is flooded. No, it's just mud. It's a work truck. It worked up in the oil fields in Canada. Like that's where it's lived its life. Like it's been detailed, but there's so much mud and everything else caked in the frame and the rockers and get it out.
We get oil trucks all the time. Pickups are used out in the oil fields in West Texas or Oklahoma in the oil fields, and they come in and these guys are those trucks, I don't think they ever get shut off. It's one foreman or one worker's in it from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. They just keep changing shifts, keep using the same truck, and they're going from rig to rig or, from derrick to derrick or well to well, whatever they are. And they get full of everything. And next thing you know, it's, yep, this one's flood. No, it's never rained in this one. It's just been a workhorse.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it's just the dealer grasping at straws to try to get out of it.
And then we go to our objectivity versus subjectivity, and you got that oil field truck that's coming in that it's going to have a couple dents and dings in it. Like you said earlier, it's a work truck. Now go try to grade that. Because once you start riding it, a lot of it's just dirt and miles. It's really not that bad of a truck because most of those oil guys, from the ones I've experienced, I've seen their maintenance records. They've religiously done the maintenance on them. From an engine standpoint or from a drivetrain standpoint, those things are sound units. They've just got some miles on them. And Is it a 2.5 or is it a 3.0 or is it a 3.5? I don't know. Well, I don't buy those kind of trucks. Well, you bought it out of the lane where that's all we sell. What the hell did you think you were buying?
It's the good scapegoat. There's always the CR if they don't have anything else. But yeah, I mean, couldn't we kind of go back to what you said, Rich? Right? Couldn't we just do a CR with no grade? Like, just let them grade it themselves. We'll just be photographers to take pictures of the car and call what we see and move on. Take the grade totally out of the CR. I think it would make them more responsible for themselves and for what they're buying. We're giving them the information. They can do what they want with it. Let's just take the grade out of it and be done with it. Not even.
I'd love to talk to a jeweler, a certified diamond appraiser jeweler, because in order to grade a diamond, you actually have to go through extensive training and become certified. And then after you do that, they give you a grade. Every diamond gets a grade based on clarity, and I don't know, it's a handful of features. And then they'll give you a number roughly, or a grade, and they give you a range. They don't give you a specific number, because I've had rings looked at before. May have bought one before. And then they come back and then they appraise them. So what if we took something from the industry, like the jewelry industry, we applied it to the CR? Okay, here's your grade. It's between a 3.0 and a 3.5. And then you had a set of criteria that everybody was trained to on how you got to that grade. Number of dents, number of panels repainted, overall condition, miles, who knows, year. You go back to what you're saying, Ty, a standard. I don't think we have a solid standard like somebody like the jewelry business has, like the diamond industry. Now, I'd love to go talk to a diamond wholesaler and say, are diamond wholesalers? There's another one. They go and buy diamonds like what, 10, 20, 30, 100 at a time. They'll buy a little pouch of them, they'll look them out and they'll look at them and they'll go appraise them. They're looking at them. Are they ever buying those sight unseen? I probably doubt it, because diamonds can have a lot of, just like a car. You can have a lot of different diamonds worth a lot of different money, all the same size. You can have a lot of cars, same thing, worth a lot of different money.
There was a customer back in the day before we all kind of switched to the auto grade that had kind of like that window, right? If it wasn't quite giving you the grade of 3 to a 3.5, but like it had criteria to make you, when we was grading them manually, right? So like if it has a cracked windshield, it can't be higher than a 4. You're automatically knocking that car down. If it has a tire less than 3/32, it can't be graded more than a 3. If it has 5 panels of paint on it, it can't be more than like a 2.0. I could be off on my grades there a little bit, but you get the picture of what they've said and what they've wanted. If it's dents greater than a 2-inch, it was the whole thing. So that criteria was out there, and then we just kind of went away with it making it all computerized.
So should I reach out to Matt Arias and see if he wants to jump on a show with us?
Yeah, I would.
Maybe this is our play right here. Hey, Matt, if you're listening and you're watching this, maybe you should give me a call, drop me a DM.
Matt loves to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. He's at our competitor now, right?
Competitor schmeditor.
Right. It's okay. We're all friendly. Rich told me all you auction guys talk to each other.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Meet Me at the Gate. I hope the conversations help to fuel your drive and equip you with insights to steer your team towards success. Remember, the road to success is always under construction. And until next time, keep your engines revving and your gas tanks full.